Okay, everyone, this is going to be the final review for CTS3392C. What we're going to do is go through setting up this network. I ran the script to create all the virtual machines. My script configured all the IP addresses on both NAT routers and the static routes. So what I'm going to start with is going in, finishing the setup on the two NATs to set up my WAN link between the two sites. So the first thing I'm going to do is on NAT 1, my IPs are all set, so what I'm going to do is walk through the wizard for routing and remote access. First I have to install it. Choosing remote access. Then routing. If you install this with PowerShell, make sure that you have NAT. Go inside, make sure you have NAT, because the PowerShell kind of wigs out every once in a while. I'm going to do the same thing on NAT 2. Remote access. And routing. I'm going to go back to NAT 1. Okay, that's done. I'm going to go to Tools, Routing Remote Access, Configure and Enable. It's going to be a NAT router. Make sure you choose your public interface and choose one of your private interfaces. It doesn't matter which, we need to add the other one once we get inside. So I'm going to drill down to IPv4, go to NAT, add mother interfaces. My internal one, it's not really important, but I'm going to add it anyways. And the other private I didn't add during the wizard. The other thing I want to do while I'm here is I want to set up the DHCP relay agent on this router to listen for DHCP requests on this site. If it hears a request, it'll send it to the DHCP server on this side. So I'm going to go back to NAT 1, highlight General, a new routing protocol. Choose the relay agent, highlight it. I want to listen on the west side, and if I hear a request on the west side, I want to send it to, go to Properties, the IP of their DHCP, which is 172.16.8.7. Don't forget to click Add. So this machine is done. The only thing I need to do is rename and reboot. This machine is not joined to the domain. Because it touches the internet. I want to do the same thing to NAT2. It's installed. Go to Routing Remote Access. Configure Enable. Choose NAT. I got the glitch. Configure Enable. Choose NAT. Public. Choose one of my privates. It doesn't matter which. Drill down IPv4 NAT, add the other private interface. This router is on the side with the DHCP server, so I don't need to add a relay agent here. So I'm just going to crashed. I'm going to rename, reboot. So I'm going to start next on DC1, 172.16.0.2/21. From this point on, all the machines need all the basic configuration. IP, hostname, software installed. Gateway is 0.1 and my subnet mask is /21, 255.255.248. Because this is the first DC in the forest, I'm going to point to my two upstreams for DNS. These are our ISPs. Rename, reboot. While that's rebooting, I'm going to do the same thing to DC2. According to the map, the IP should be 0.3 for DC2. because DC2 will already know about, DC1 will already know about our domain, I'm going to point DC2 to DC1. And DC1's IP is 0.2. The NAT router on the west side, the near side interface is 172.16.0.1. Rename, reboot. I'm going to go back to DC1 and install the software. Active Directory Domain Services. Active Directory Domain Services. I'm going to do the same thing to DC2. Waiting for it to stop spinning. So it's still installing on DC1 and 2. I'm going to move over to DC5. I'm going to point it to DC 2 and 3. They will know about our forest. This is going to be the child DC. This is DC5. Rename, reboot. I'm going to go to DC6, which will be our new tree domain. The IP for that will be 0.5. I highly recommend you use PowerShell to do what I'm doing right now. Again, pointing to DC2 and 3, they already know about our forest. Once the forest is created, of course. Rename, reboot. I'm going to go back to DC5 and install the Active Directory software. And do the same for DC6. Okay, DC1 should be done. Now we're ready to promote it to a domain controller. It's going to be a new forest. Our Active Directory restore password, or the new name for it is Directory Services Restore Mode password. It's not going to create the DNS on the upstream because we don't have control over our ISP's DNS server. So it's going to actually create the DNS namespace on this machine itself. Meaning it's going to create a zone for DNS for our domain locally. I'm going to pause the video while this is installing. Okay, my DC1 is up. First thing I'm going to do is complete the DNS. So I'm going to launch DNS and create my reverse zone for my entire network. Go to reverse, create a new reverse zone. It's going to be stored in Active Directory. It's going to be primary, read write. It's going to go to all domain controllers that are DNS servers in my forest, not just my domain. It's going to be for an IPv4 network. I'm going to go back to the classful domain address. So it covers all three subnets: West, WAN, and East. Allow dynamic updates, click Finish. The next thing I'm going to do is configure sites and services. I like to do this before I promote any other DCs, so when the DCs are promoted, they're automatically aware of what site they're in. So I'm going to rename, guys, in the lab, a lot of you created a new site. But for the first site, I'm just going to rename it. This is going to be called West. I'm going to create a new one for East and use that default IP site link. Then I'm going to go to that site link and rename it. Something more descriptive. And set the replication to occur every 15 minutes, the lowest I can go. And that's just for this lab. I don't want this test to take 10 hours. And then I want to create two subnets and associate them with sites. So the first one is 172.16.00/21. That will be West. I'm going to create another one. 172.16.8.0/21. That will be East. And again, that's on the map. If you look at your map, there's the subnets we're dealing with. I have no Active Directory computers in this WAN link, so I'm not going to create a site for WAN. So DC1 is fully configured for right now. So we're going to move over to DC2 and promote it to a domain controller. It's going to be a new domain controller in an existing domain, contoso.com. Contoso.com, supply your authentication. A few of you had problems during the promotion process. If you can resolve the name by running nslookup space contoso.com, and you know that's working no problem, try to manually join it to the domain first. Sign in as a domain admin, and then try to promote it. That was working for a few people. You see how this is already in the West site? Because we've configured sites and services already. DC1 is a global catalog for the West site. I don't need another global catalog for the West site. If you had a bunch of users, maybe. But for right now, I don't. So I'm only going to have one global catalog server per site. That's going to be DC1. So what this means is, when this is promoted, I need to move the infrastructure master from DC1 over to DC2 before I start promoting any child domain. If you don't do that, you're going to have replication problems. You're not going to be able to find things in the domain. So do that first thing once this is promoted, before you set up your child or new tree domain. This one won't take as long as DC1, but I'm still going to pause. I don't know if this is going to be on the video, so I'm just going to repeat it. So the only thing I did to DC2, once it was up and running, was go to Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers. Highlight your domain, go to Operation Masters. Under Infrastructure Master, it's right now, I already moved it because I'm not sure if it's part of the video or not. But just like the RID, I'm going to try to move the RID master over. You need to move the infrastructure master over to DC2. It'll say DC1, you're on DC2, click change. I'm going to show you how to do it with the RID. So my RID master role is currently on DC1, I want to move it to 2. Click change, yes. You do not want to leave the infrastructure master on the global catalog. You will not be able to do this test because you'll have replication issues, you won't be able to find objects. Make sure you move it over. On DC5, I'm just promoting this to a domain controller for the new child domain. New child domain, parent domain goes on top, child domain goes on bottom. Unselect global catalog. I already have one for the West site. Create the delegation. I did that ahead of time. I went to DC1. New delegation. I typed in the child domain. I added the server. cs01-dc5.child.contoso.com. Put in the IP address for that machine. And it is 0.4. Don't worry if it validates. and then click Finish. I already did it. So there's my delegation. I only did it because I don't trust this. It doesn't always work. Click Next. Click Install. This is going to take a little bit longer than DC2 because it's creating a brand new domain. I'm going to pause. Okay, DC5 is up and running.
Wouldn't you want to sign in as child?
I do.
That was a test.
Honestly, I'm the enterprise admin. I can do what I want. So, you know, this will work. I'll still be able to open all the tools that I need. Just going to go into DNS and Sites and Services just to make sure everything looks good. I have the child domain. I don't have the reverse yet. That's telling me I haven't replicated from DC1 yet. If I go to the west side, I can see DC1, two is going to replicate from 1, 5 will replicate from 1 and 2, and 1 will replicate from 2 and 5. Let me refresh, see if I got any. So I'm still not fully replicated. You might want to hold off and leave it set for a few minutes. It's good that we have our replication links, but it's not fully replicated yet. I should get the reverse from the parent DC. Also, if you want to check this, highlight your server, go to forwarders. I should forward to DC1 and DC2. I'm going to move on to DC5, or DC6 rather, the tree domain. So I'm going to create a new domain in an existing forest. It's going to be a tree domain. The forest name will be contoso.com. The tree domain will be adatum.com, and I'm going to supply the enterprise admin's credentials. When I do this, I'm going to be talking to the domain naming master. That's the machine that's going to be responsible to see if this domain name is being used and to create it for me. This DC will also be on the west site, so I don't need a global catalog. This is the stuff you don't want to rush. You rush it, it might take 2 hours to clear itself up. Sometimes I've seen students have to sit there an entire day just to let it sit and replicate before they could continue on with the test. So it determined that it was in the West site. I'm going to unselect Global Catalog. It's not, I don't need a delegation because I'm not delegating a portion of my namespace. I'm creating a whole new namespace called adatum.com. So what I'm going to do is go over to the parent EC. I'm going to do a conditional forwarder. Adatum.com is going to be handled by 172.16.0.5. That is the IP of this DC. Store in an active directory, send it to all DNS servers in the forest. Normally, if I go highlight my server name, if I don't know the answer, I would normally send it to the upstreams. I'm not going to have an answer for adatum.com because I don't know about that name. I don't want to send them to the upstreams. So for any other name, I'll send to adatum.com. Any other name that I don't know about, I'll send it to our ISP. But for Adatum, I'm going to send it to that machine. For child.contoso.com, which is part of my namespace, I've delegated a portion of it to this DNS server. Now I'm going to continue with the promotion process. Click Next. Click Install. I'm going to go over to DC 4 or 5 rather and check if replication has occurred. Go into DNS. Every time I go and check, when I'm done, I still don't have replication. I close this out because it doesn't refresh properly. You can manually refresh it, I just prefer to close it out. I should eventually get the forwarder. I should get my reverse zone. I'm going to go check on DC2, see if it has all the data. I'm going to go to Active Directory, DNS rather. DC2 did receive all the replication, even the conditional forwarder. Let's see if DC2 knows about all the site, all the replication links. So DC2 doesn't know who DC5 is replicating from. Again, I'm still having replication problems. The cure is to let it set. But I'm not going to do that. Okay, so the next DC I'm going to set up is DC3, which is going to be my first server on the east side. So I'm going to go to DC1, and I'm going to set this machine up as a bridgehead server. I don't want to let the KCC, Knowledge Consistency Checker, define my replication topology over the WAN link. I want to control that. So I'm going to go to Active Directory Sites and Services. I'm going to drill down into West, highlight DNS Settings, and go to Properties. And that's not what I want to do. I'm going to highlight the server, go to Properties. Then for IP, I want DC1 to be the bridgehead server. It's going to give me an error message saying DC1 only knows about the domain contoso.com. It doesn't know about child, and it doesn't know about a datum. So it won't be able to replicate any data like that across the WAN link. It's okay because I don't have a child DC or a datum DC over on the east side. Here's the warning. I don't know about child. I don't know about a datum. That's fine. If I did have a child DC or a new tree domain on the other side, or another DC for the tree domain on the other side, I want to do bridgehead servers for each domain. I mean, we can do that. It's not really going to have any bearing. Again, this is only going to be bridgehead server for that site. Why can't I see this here? Why does it look weird? Because that DC isn't fully up. It's still being promoted. It's rebooting now. While that's rebooting, I'm going to jump over to DC3, my first DC on the east side. Start configuring the IP settings in the host name. This is going to be 8.2 according to our diagram. 8.2, then 8.3, again, both /21. Yeah, there's no reason not to do all the IP settings with PowerShell. And I'm going to point it to DC1 and DC2 for name resolution, because it knows about the Contoso domain. Rename, reboot. I'm going to do the same thing to DC4. This is going to be 8.3/21. But I'm going to point the DNS to DC3 because I'm not going to send this across the WAN link for name resolution when DC3 is a DNS server. So I cannot promote this until DC is fully up and running and fully replicated. Eight point three. I'm going to send this to 8.2 for name resolution. Rename, reboot. Anyone who's moving ahead, I'm just going to have you run the script the first day of the test, so it's not going to really benefit you. Going to check on DC6, still booting. DC3, I can sign in. I can install the software for Active Directory. I'm going to sign into DC4 too. Active Directory domain services. Restart. It'll restart after I promote. Do the same thing to 4. Restart after I promote. Checking on 6, still rebooting. Let me go to DC5, see if replication has occurred. Yep, I have replication now in DC5. It knows about the reverse. I also know about the conditional forwarder. DC6 is up. I'm going to try to sign in. Check DNS. Check sites and services. I'm going to go back to DC1 and finish setting up DC6 as a bridgehead server. I'm just going to hit refresh. Still not ready. It doesn't know what domain is part of yet. Only have one global catalog server on West. Yeah. DC6 really doesn't know about anything yet. Actually, it knows about itself, so I'm going to do the bridgehead server here. And saying it doesn't know about those other domains, that's fine. It doesn't know who the other bridgehead servers are yet. Give it time. I'm going to start promoting DC3. First DC on the east site. I'm going to leave global catalog server checked because I'm first DC on the east site. I don't need to do a delegation. There's already a zone called Contoso.com. The replication partner, DC2, shows replication errors. You should use RepElement to identify these errors. I can tell you what we need to do. Wait. It's giving you a warning saying DC2 doesn't know everything that there is to know yet. You can use that utility to kind of see what's going on. Guys, I've been doing this for a while, so I'm confident in going forward. You just might want to just take a break, grab a cup of coffee, leave it set for a few minutes. Again, this is not a new domain, so it doesn't take very long. It's just a new domain controller in an existing domain. While it's rebooting, I'm just going to go check out DC1, see if it knows about DC6 yet. No, it still doesn't know it's a DC. I'm going to try to close out and reopen. No, still not fully replicated yet. Guys, if you go in here and you right click one of the links and under object, this update sequence number. If you compare them what they know from other DCs, so this one is currently on 13581. So if I go to 6, properties, object, I can see the update sequence number is way behind. You know, when they're all the same, that's when everything is, it's called a converged network. So right now, I'm still waiting for, you know, every time I do an update, there's a number associated to it. If you have the same number, you have the same data. So again, waiting. If I compare that data to DC6, you'll see the inconsistencies. See, it knows that it's part of a datum. DC1 doesn't. So I'm going to check DC3. DC3 is still booting. Now remember, there's a 15-minute delay with replication between DC1 and DC2 because of our site link. And I still need to label DC3 as a bridgehead server for the east side. Again, open up DNS, sites and services. So I'm going to turn this into a bridgehead server for the east side. I have a lot of information here, so that's a good sign. DNS. I have my forward. I also have the reverse. I even have the conditional forwarders. So I'm going to go check 6. Six looks good so far. I'm going to check the DNS. 6 has a reverse now. I don't have the conditional forwarder yet, but I do have the reverse. So it looks like it's catching up. So DC1, I'm going to hit refresh. DC1 now knows about a datum. So the last thing we're going to do today is promote DC4. It's going to be a new domain controller in an existing domain. It'll be part of Contoso.com. This shouldn't take long because it's not a new domain, it's a new domain controller. I'm going to unselect global catalog because DC3 will be our global catalog for the east site. I don't need a delegation at all. I only need a delegation if it's a child domain. This is part of the parent, so there's no delegation. So while we're waiting, here's what we have to do. We still have to do the DFS servers. And the only reason the DFS servers are there is to do the group nesting exercise. Being able to create global groups, domain local groups, that kind of thing. And access this share that's going to be in the parent domain. We need to set up the DHCP server so we can test our relay agent. Then we're going to do the CA so we can set up a certificate server, make sure all three domains have access with our group policies. We're going to create one group policy on the parent domain and be able to use it on all three domains. Then we're going to generate a certificate manually for our web server. When we do this CA, we also need to configure the online responder. And then we're done with the test. Does anyone have kids at home that want donuts? At this hour at night? Or maybe in the morning? Okay guys, I'm just going to do is check the DNS, check the sites, stop the video, and then upload it. So you're free to go. I will see you next week. Monday will be the rest of the review. Then you have 3 days for the final. Guys, keep in mind, this is taking me probably a little over 1 day. So it's probably going to take you a little bit longer. So come in here. Don't assume that, oh, I have 3 days, I'll work on in the last 2 days. That you just know karma is going to get you. Okay, I'll see you.
Do you think the lab is going to, I know next week you said there's no evening classes, do you think the lab's going to be open?
I know for a fact it will not be. No, on Thanksgiving, Wednesday night, no one will be here.
All right.
It'll be open Tuesday, right?
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yes, you too. Yeah, they'll be open Tuesday, but probably not Wednesday evening. Yep.
Last week you told me that you would like show me a little bit about what you had for the script to create more users.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to show that next week as well. But where did I have that script? Right here. I'm going to make this part of the video. Here is to create one user. I have my authentication, all that. Here's a script that just grabs a DC, because you need to do this on a DC. So this just lists all your DCs so you can grab one of your DCs. Then it's going to, normally when I run a PowerShell command, I put a bunch of switches after it. Dash this, dash that. Well, if I don't want to do that, I can save all that in something like an array. So instead of, say, dash enable or dash change logon or dash username, I can put it all in here and then pass all of this to my PowerShell command. So instead of doing it like this, where I did dash this, dash that, I can do it this way. Here, I created a new user account on that DC I chose, created a new group, add that user to the group. Script number 1. Now you need to do both of these scripts together. You need to merge them. This is just some output. Don't worry about that. So I'm defining an array by grabbing a list of users. I'm assuming your file is called users.txt. Then it's going to read one line at a time. For each item in the array, now your array has one line. One line will have username, first name, last name, separated by a comma. So the first item in the list, take that username, first name, last name, split it into 3 items. Now you need to pass those 3 items to these fields. This name right here is the first and last name put together. This is the first name, this is the last name. This is their username. So you need to be able to use these variables, item 0, item 1, item 2, in this script. So this will be part of your loop. This will be inside your loop. Instead of just writing it, you're going to create the user account in that loop. Okay? I'm going to check DC. Please remind me of that, to go over that again.
On Monday, right?
Yeah, please. If no one else wants these donuts, you can take the whole box.
Maybe there's one.
One night.
Thank you. Have a good one, man.
Take it easy. Here, let me finish this video.
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay, so I'm going to just check DNS, check sites and services. I know that it's probably not going to be replicated yet. Good night. Actually, it is fully replicated.
See you tomorrow.
Take it easy. Good night. The east site looks good. The west site looks good. Okay, we're going to continue the video next week.